So 145,000 people have landed across the Mediterranean on Italy's shores this year, many of them, of course, coming through that little island of Lampedusa. That's up from 88,000 last year. That poses Giorgia Meloni a huge problem. She was elected saying, look, you know, we can deal with this problem. Now, she's met with Edi Rami, who is the Prime Minister of Albania, and done a deal with Albania. And the deal is that they can send 3,000 people a month, that's 36,000 people a year, across to Albania, where they will be processed. And if they're granted asylum, they can come to Italy. If they're not, they'll be sent back to their home countries. All of which, I'm guessing, is music to the ears of Paolo Borchia, Italian MEP for the Lega Party, who joins me live down the line from Vicenza. And this is what the Lega have been campaigning for, isn't it?
Yes, that's what we were voted by our electors. I think that after a long period with huge pressures on the Mediterranean side, finally we were able to find a common sense solution in order to externalize procedures for asylum seekers, in order to know in a clear way who is seeking for better wages or maybe for better protection from European member states' welfare systems, and people that are running out from conflicts, from wars. So
yeah, I mean, I get
this is a good idea, but
Paolo, I get the logic. I get the logic of what you're saying, but here's the problem: 3,000 a month, when over 10,000 a month are arriving. I mean, you're only... Oh, he's gone. There we are. The wonders of modern science, eh? Yeah. Now, I'm also joined by Professor Leila Simona Talani, Director of the Centre for Italian Politics at King's College London. Let's begin, Leila, with the politics of this. You know, that's the Lega, who've always had a very tough position on this. The Brothers of Italy have sprung up with arguably an even tougher position on this. Meloni becomes the Prime Minister, promising she'll do something. So, in a sense, she had to do something.
Well, definitely she had to do something because the situation was out of control, as you said at the beginning. Yeah. If you have doubled the number of migrants that were shoring on the Italian coastline, is actually a problem, especially if you are very much against migration. So, in a way, this deal, which is actually second to another deal they've already done with Tunisia, and it didn't end up particularly well, is like the admission of a failure that Italy is unable at the moment to deal with this number of migrants.
Yes, it's dealing with the symptom, not the cause.
Yes.
And I do fully understand that. However, the numbers are, I mean, they're reasonably impressive. I mean, we had a Rwanda deal, or we still do, and we're waiting for a Supreme Court judgment. But, you know, that was nothing like 3,000 people a month. We were talking hundreds. But there's a very big difference here, isn't there, in a sense?
There are some differences. I'm totally sure that Ms Meloni, she took some lead from the UK, because she obviously has been talking with your Prime Minister about it. But there are many differences. The most important one is that basically the refugees or wannabe refugees that will arrive in Albania, then they'll have their application processed there, but then they would be allowed to come back to the EU, to Italy, to stay as refugees if their application is accepted. Whereas in the case of Rwanda, it is different, because the refugees who are not allowed to enter and to ask for the refugee status in the UK will have to go back to go to Rwanda and stay in Rwanda, will never be accepted by the UK.
That's why the government have had such problems.
Absolutely.
With the European Court of Human Rights and indeed the British courts interpreting it. So I wonder, with this deal, where the Italian Navy, or an equivalent, will pick up boats in the Mediterranean, in Italian waters, take them straight to a port in Albania, because that's the plan.
That's the plan.
As it's been hatched, processing there, and then if they pass, they come to Italy. If they don't, they get sent back to their home countries. But there's a problem. with that, if they haven't got any ID because they've thrown it in the Mediterranean, where do you send them?
Well, there are many problems with the deal. This is one of the problems. Repatriation is one of the problems. So they are sent to a new center. It's called the reception center, more or less always in Albania, because they made a deal for two centers. Yep. One for the processing of the applications and another one to reception for those who are waiting to be repatriated. The problem is, according to the deal, this is under the Italian law. And that's very difficult and debatable, because we have extraterritoriality for the Italian law, but the refugee law is not Italian, it's actually European law.
You've got, so you're going to have to fight. You may not have as big a problem with the European Court of Human Rights as we had, but you're going to have a huge problem with the EU's common asylum policy.
Absolutely, because this is a common policy, and there is extraterritoriality for the EU law. It doesn't exist, or at least it's not been. It might exist, but it has to be negotiated with the EU, and this has not been done, because this deal is apparently just landed on the desk of the European Commission.
What's interesting about this is Meloni was elected, and, she's going to be so tough, she's going to fight Brussels. But actually, she's been pretty emollient towards Brussels thus far. Is this the moment which she stands and fights? Well,
that's very much to be seen. We are very much at the beginning of this process. Yeah. So, as I said, the EU had just received the memorandum. No one has seen the memorandum. No one has. I've been looking for it online, but I couldn't find it. Then there is the issue that basically this is also a way to take away the attention of the Italian public from the current budgetary law, which is incredibly more austere and actually more Draghi-like than anyone was expecting. and so.
Well, she's turned out to be a very much more moderate prime minister in many ways.
In many ways. I think this is not necessarily a bad thing, but definitely for her electorates is not exactly what they were expecting.
No, I think a lot of her electors thought she'd be a lot tougher and a lot more difficult. And have her poll ratings suffered as a result of all of this?
Not really, not at the moment. But the budgetary law is a turning point, I would say. And it really depends on how it goes. Of course, it's gone through a mechanism, which is it was immediately given the confidence vote by the Parliament. Yep. But still, the application has to happen. So we will see what happens.
I have to say, Leila, you've got a great job.
Thank you.
Being a professor of Italian politics, it's the most extraordinary subject. Thank you for joining us on the programme.
Thanks.
I sat and worked with Italian MEPs for almost 21 years. I have to tell you, it was virtually impossible. It makes British politics look really very straightforward and very easy, especially on days like today, where we've had the King's speech.